People have been asking, what is SUMP? Is this a new production company? Is it a band? SUMP is not a band. It's a multimedia content collective. The idea is that I'm going to get all of the most creative motherfuckers that I know together, and we're going to make music and videos and skits and all types of shit. I feel like the band thing is limiting. How would you describe SUMP's music? Well, how would you describe Downtown Brown's music? It's me and some friends making some noise. So eat that friggin' content. Also, we just got hats. Yo, hey, my name is Neil Patterson. This is SUPcast episode number 88, and I'm here. I'm very excited to be here with N8NOFACE, who's a dude I've been trying to track down for a minute. Became a fan of his music after I saw a video on the YouTube channel, Kinda Neat, which I don't know if that was one of your early shits, but it's mostly a hip-hop thing. So I saw like Nova Rockefeller on there. I saw Wax. I saw Dumbfounded, a lot of LA shit. And then out of nowhere, I see this dude with a mustache, and it's the rawest shit. And yeah, and then I've been a fan ever since, and here we are. N8NOFACE, what's up, dude?
Thank you so much. Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for having me on. Truly an honor. I mean, I became a fan of you as soon as you reached out to me. I was like, oh shit, yeah, and just watching everything you do and your whole vibe. I love you, man. So thank you so much.
Oh wow, that means a lot. Yeah, I forget. It was like last year I started walking a lot, and your album that came out in 2018, True Story, right? That's what it's called, right?
That I forget when that dropped, but yeah, I think it was either True Story, and my last one was Homicide and Bound to Let You Down before that. But True Story is the album. I forget. Maybe it was 2018.
That's what it says on Spotify.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and yeah, because I just, whatever I read on the internet is kind of what I believe. But hey, can you tilt your camera like up a tiny bit so I can see your whole head? So I can see your see your whole face?
Yeah. What if I go like this? Sorry.
It don't matter. None of this shit really matters.
Yeah, but no, I want it right.
I just want to see. I want to see your whole N8NOFACE. But yeah, so 2018, I'm like, I was doing this thing where I was trying to lose weight because I was about to go on tour with Reagan Youth, and I listened to your record while I walked like hundreds of miles in like 3 months, and I listened to your record like on repeat, and it hit me, man. It seemed like it came from a really, really real place, and I was like, yo, this dude feels things. And they say if you're writing from a place where you feel that it connects with people, and it really connected with me in a way because I don't know, there's anger, there's sadness, there's love, there's loss, there's tragedy. It runs the gamut of human emotions on that record, and a lot of your shit, because you go aggressive as fuck, and then you'll be singing a love song the next track, And I love that.
I'm so glad you see it like that. Yeah, thank you, man. It means a lot.
So, okay, so Tucson, you're from Tucson, right?
Yeah, born and raised from Tucson. I've went to school, elementary all the way up through high school. Moved out to LA in 2000 for a quick year. Went back to Tucson, and then been out here. Came back maybe right around 2011. I think I've been here like 10, 12 years maybe. Yeah. And
were you making music in Tucson as well?
Yeah. I started making music in Tucson. I mean, my first introduction, for me making music was hip hop. I was buying drum machines. I had to order my SP1200 out of the back of a Source magazine because our city at the time didn't even sell gear for me. I mean, it was strictly acoustic guitars and shit for country or mariachi music. But so I started making hip hop beats. Didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Had no friends or anybody to ask. This is before YouTube. I just bought some gear and was like, let me try to do this shit that I like so much. And that's how it all started.
So were you making primarily like hip hop music in the beginning?
Yeah, that's it. I'd say that from 17 until maybe around like late 20s, I was just doing hip hop beats. I always loved everything. And, but I was just like, oh, I'm not a musician. I can't do that. And then, some buddies of mine, when I was at the Conservatory of Recording Arts, started showing me these other bands like Ween and bands just doing different stuff. And I was like, let me try to make what a band does, but with these machines that I got that make hip hop. And that's when I started experimenting in real weird indie shit and started screaming to beats. Was like in my later 20s, but from like late 20s, almost 30, but from 17 to maybe 28, it was all hip hop, strictly hip hop.
And what was the scene like in Tucson?
I mean, there really wasn't one. Sooner or later, it started to come in. But yeah, there really wasn't one. Like I come from a circle of guys that nobody makes music. No one gives a shit about art. I mean, everybody's just trying to get money. So I really had to go find guys, like people that weren't even my friends. Like, okay, you want to rap? I'm trying to make beats. Come over, record. And there really wasn't much of a scene. I mean, no one's ever blew up or nothing from Tucson or even our big city, Phoenix, at the time. Like Arizona was something that people would just skip over. Like, I mean, we wouldn't even get great shows coming through there, like as far as the big rap acts. But yeah, there definitely wasn't a scene, you know, for at least for that I found until my late 20s. We opened up some hip hop stores, like it was sold graffiti supplies, records, music, clothing. And we kind of helped develop the scene. I'll say it, you know, it became the hub that you found like-minded people that maybe you didn't know because they're from a different generation, different school or whatever. Our store became the hub. And then next thing you know, the scene's created.
What was the store called?
Our first one, my brother came out of prison and opened up Planet Z. And then he shut that down and opened up a store called Rosie's, which was named after my mom. And then when he shut that down because he got pinched again, I opened up a store called All City. So the All City was my store. But technically, between me and my brother, we had 3 stores that did the same thing. Sold hip hop music, clothing, and graffiti, like supplies, streakers, markers, paint, everything.
Fuck yeah. So do you paint as well?
I don't. I never wrote. All my homies did. My brother did. Or I mean, homies that I met through the store, but I never did. I mainly owned the store because it was my avenue to do music. I had on my computer, and this is when computer recording started coming into the game. So I threw that in my store, something my brother didn't do. And then I would record kids $20 an hour. Some of them would just come in, get a record from the store, the instrumental, and rap on it. I'd record them, and they throw me $20. So I was like a mini recording studio for the city, for the kids who really couldn't afford gear, couldn't afford a real studio time. Dude, so that was mainly my thing for the shop.
I love this shit. It's 10 minutes into the interview and I already like learned like 12 new things about you because you know, you see where you're at now and like it's a journey for any artist. And I feel like just hearing what you just told me, I was like, wow, this journey has an even further beginning than what you even talk about in some of your Insta posts and shit.
Oh, yeah. My girl always jokes when homies who know me for a minute find out I own the store. My girl's like, yo, he's literally had like 5 lives. Like, I feel like I've lived a lot, you know. But I mean, I'm 47, just turned 47 in August. So, yeah, I mean, I've definitely, lived a few lives.
Okay, so was it the scene? Was it the Arizona? Not a lot of shit going on. Was that what made you want to leave? Were you like, I want to do bigger and better? I want to be somewhere. Was that?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I mean, I never want to be a guy who shits on my city. I get DMs from kids who now, like, you know, I was doing music. I had a band called Crime Kills where we took Game Boys and my buddy modded the Game Boys. And that was like my first real punk band. We made the music with Game Boys and Scream. But some of this youth in Tucson now, they don't even know about that. They're now introduced to me since I've lived in LA. So I'll get DMs of kids hitting me up like, yo, how did you escape Tucson? You know, I fucking hate it here. I'm like, bro, I don't ever look at your city that way. I get the frustration because I did. There was less than what these kids in my city got now when I was there. And yeah, I was always a dreamer. And I knew that LA was, you know, if I wanted to do music or get in the industry, I had to move to LA. So I knew I had to get out for those reasons. Now you got the internet. I really don't think you need to leave a city. I mean, maybe to a certain extent, but you don't need it like I needed to back then. I really needed to get out. And all my family and friends like pushed me to do it. Like, yeah, get the fuck out of here because your dreams ain't here.
That's beautiful. That's cool. You had a good support system like that.
Oh, big time. I love my family, my mom, everybody always did. They knew, like where I come from, we call it leaving the res. You don't leave the reservation. You stay with the city, you stay with your family, you stay to support, and you don't do that. It becomes a kind of outsider thing. And my mom was the one who was like, nah, go get out of here. I'm the only person besides my brother and then my aunt who ever left the city and my family. Like, you stay there forever.
Yeah, it's nice to have support of mama. Shouts out to my mom. Thanks,
For sure.
Mom. Yeah, I went out to LA, and what's weird is like a lot of the hometown will dog you for leaving. And I came back to Detroit, and we did the show, and it popped off. And when I said I moved out to California for 5 years, the entire crowd goes boo. None of these motherfuckers ever been to California, and they're still booing. It's weird.
That's probably that Detroit love, man. You're right, because when the city does that, I just figure, all right, you're just maybe representing your city hard, not hating the other city. But yeah, LA definitely gets a bad rap from other cities.
What's weird is there's like millions and millions of people there. It's a big melting pot. And I hear people say all the time, they're like, everyone there is fake. It's like they watch one episode of the Kardashians and they think everyone's the same. It's like, yo, there's so many different types of people that it's millions and millions of people. You can't just say everyone is like this in LA. Yeah, it's huge.
Exactly. And or if you're coming out here for reasons to blow up and stardom, actor, whatever, I mean, God bless you, but you're probably going to put yourself in a world where, yeah, that might be true because everyone is scheming and hustling to get that dream done. And that was my first, I mean, when I first moved out here, it was where I lived and what I was involved around. Definitely, when I moved out here, 2000, I lived in Hollywood, was interning studios, had to go back because my family got in some issues. So I went back to help out. But then when I came out here this last time, I lived in South Central LA and was living with a guy who was definitely in the streets. But my experience outside of that neighborhood was that, like, everybody was pitching me shit. We had my band Crime Kills got a song on Workaholics, and everything did feel like everything was a scheme or a hustle, or everyone's pitching you a script or an idea. But then when you come into the other cities, it's nothing like that. I live in Long Beach and I love it. It's blue collar. Yeah, people want to dream and hustle and get it, but there is that blue collar feeling of not everyone trying to scheme or scam on you.
Yeah, that's what I loved about Long Beach. I lived there for a year and a half. No, I lived there for longer than that. I lived there a little bit in 2017, and I lived there the whole pandemic, pretty much.
Right on, okay.
And what I like about Pedro and the whole South Bay is you don't see all the fucking billboards. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I mean. You're right.
You're not trying to be sold something everywhere you look. And when you get up to Hollywood, when you get up to LA proper, it's just like, we're trying to sell you shit left and right. Buy this, buy this. Yeah, it's a lot.
I never thought of it like that. That's a good way of saying it, because I'm always saying, everyone's scheming, but you're right. It's just everyone's they're putting shit in your face constantly, like, yo, just give me your money. So no, in these areas, my girl's from Wilmington in this harbor area, and I love this area out here, Pedro, all that. I love being by the water too, being from the desert.
Yeah, man, I miss that shit. But when the pandemic hit, my girl and I got laid off, and she's like, let's go back to Michigan because we could afford a house out here for what we were paying for a 1-bedroom. But yeah, we talk all the time. We're like, we should go back. And then we look at the rent prices and we're like, oof,
Oh, bro, who are you telling? When I hear what my people are paying in Tucson, I'm like, shit. But Tucson's different because we're so fucking hot that you'll have like a $600 a month electric bill. You know what I mean? So it evens out.
Yeah, fucking A. So you came out to LA, and then how long between when you came out did that kind of neat thing drop? Was that like one of the first big kind of media drops you did, or like what led up to that?
I feel like I always had these little spurts and moments, but I was working aviation and I kind of never pushed music hard. I mean, of course I wanted it to happen, but I was also a guy who was turning down opportunities if it meant, hey, I got work tomorrow, man. I ain't going to go to your show or just to network or shit. But yeah, during the pandemic, I feel like that's always what launched me. I hate to say it, but I'm the guy who benefited from the pandemic, because while everyone else was going to shows and doing what you had to do, networking and everything, I was only on the net because I had a job. So then when the pandemic hit and all the clubs stopped, while my other friends who were in bands weren't taking streams. They were like, nah, I don't want to do streams. I don't like it. I was. So Kind of Neat reached out. This one that got me a lot of love too was SOS Booking. They did a 30-minute set on YouTube. The Kind of Neat and SOS Booking streams just fucking boosted me up major during the pandemic. And I think it's because no one could go out. Everyone was looking at their phone or their computer. And all of a sudden they're like, who the fuck is this guy? You know, because everyone was online during that, because that's all you could do. And Kind of Neat launched me big time, or helped me.
Yeah, man. Because I got buddies that are like in the hip hop thing, like Dumbfounded, and this dude Wax is a buddy of mine from East Coast from like way back in the day. Our bands used to play together and shit. So that shit was on my radar, and then all of a sudden, like, what you were doing was so original. It really stood out, and you look menacing, you look nefarious, and you're I'm
the sweetest guy, man.
Right. But your vibe, because that's the thing. When you perform, you're playing it up, you know, you're a persona. So, but your vibe is that, like, it's intimidating. It's an intimidating vibe, but it goes with the music, the intensity of the music. So and the way that shit is shot, like that camera's right up in your face.
Yeah, they killed it. And he told me, just keep looking at the camera. And yeah, man. I mean, I think it threw a lot of people off because he was known for, my boy Rafa from Prayers had done it. I think that Ghostmane did it, but he was mainly known for like hip hop shit. I mean, I guess in the sense Ghostmane's rapid, but it was mainly known for that. So then all of a sudden, this guy with a gold jacket gets up there and then I didn't even really look punk, you know what I mean? It's like, but I'm doing this synth punk sound. So it's like a guy who doesn't look punk doing a punk sound on a hip hop channel. It just fucked everyone up.
So at what point did you want to start incorporating the punk and the synth together into the hip hop beats?
I mean, again, it started when I had my store, All City. I was a rap head, but I always loved everything since a kid. And then some of these graffiti writers coming in this store to buy paint or streakers, they'd hang out. And I started realizing some of these graffiti writers fucking hated rap, even though they were doing an element of hip hop. They hated it. So, but they would put me on to bands because they just loved me. So they'd show me a bunch of shit. And I was like, oh, this is fucking amazing. Now, punk had always been on my radar since a kid, but it wasn't something I just dove into. So these kids start showing me this shit, and a buddy of mine is like, let's do it. He's like, let's do a punk band, but let's do it differently. None of us play instruments, so let's use these instruments we got. So I'd say it was maybe 2008. We were like, fuck it, let's try this, and let's make punk music with Game Boys and synthesizers and tell our stories of like narco shit we see growing up in our border. So I'd say 2008, I started incorporating punk into my sound.
Yeah, I remember when I was on tour with Reagan Youth, and we were driving through Tucson, and I was telling Paulie, I'm like, listen, all the weed we got to fucking get rid of that shit, because when you're driving, you see the blinking lights, and the blinking lights mean pull over. And coming from San Diego on the 8, and when we pulled over before, this was like, this is back in like the mid 2010s, but like we almost got popped, like me and all my old band. And that shit was fucking scary, but we got in this big argument, and I'm like, dude, get rid of the fucking drugs, because
not worth it, man.
Because those are the feds, bro. That's not like local cops. That's like the fucking, that's the U.S. government, dude. And
and back then, Arizona, even marijuana laws were harsh. They would fuck with you for sure.
Yeah, but I just remember getting into it with him, and he was all like, but, someone gave me this fucking ounce of this great weed from San Diego. And
so hard.
And I'm like, bro, I get it. Like, it's free weed. It's good weed. It's a gift. But, dude, like, I don't want to go to federal prison. Like, when we were there and we got shook down, we actually had shit on us. We watched them drag this dude, like, 2 border security people like dragging this dude, and his feet were dragging on the ground. He was screaming, no. And dude, and they're like, where's the weed? The dogs were going nuts because they could smell it, but we had it hid. And you know how the bass guitar's got an electronics compartment on the bottom of it?
Yes,
we unscrewed that shit and put non-smell bags in the bass. But the thing is, they could have ripped that shit open and found it, and we would have been done. Tour would have been over,
Sure. For sure.
So the culture in Tucson there's a lot of, like you're saying, there's like narco shit going on all the time. Like,
big time. Especially the era I was growing up. I mean, I always was never, I mean, I dabbled or whatever, but yeah, everyone I knew was in the game. I mean, my brother's a 3-time felon, all drug cases. We're not a 3-strike state, but my best friend did 10 years in the prison. My other best friends have had their phone tapped by the FBI and DEA. Like when I was growing up in the 90s, man, everybody was in the game somehow. Even your nana, your grandmother, maybe they're a stash house you use, or maybe someone's a mule to take it, or it's just everywhere. It was a huge economy for our city because we were only 60 miles from the border. I mean, there's other border towns closer, but we are definitely the first big city when you come across that border. And I mean, I want to say Arizona border, it was I've just read a stat. It's 51% of the U.S. drugs come from just our border. We supply this country more than any other border. I mean, the rest of the borders get 49% of it, but 51 of it comes from just our border alone. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. I grew up in the Midwest in the suburbs, bro.
No, hey man, I knew people who was blowing up. That's what we would call it growing up, blowing up Michigan, or blowing up. My buddies would tell me they would run into other traffickers, like maybe at a mall in Kansas or something, and be like, "Oh, you're out here too. Oh, you're out here too." Like everybody, the hustle was taking work out of Arizona and making money in the other states. Now weed's everywhere. It's grown in the States and everything. But I mean, in the 90s, cocaine and weed were like, I mean, everybody was involved in that game in my city.
Wow. And do you think music was what helped you escape that?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I played around and dabbled, but that's the one thing I always want my story to be is like, I had friends who were very deep in the game, but I never had to partake. I mean, sometimes I did something like, oh, you want to leave some weed here and give me money daily? Cool. But I'm going to keep my ass in the studio, make music. I'm not going out of town with it. And I'm not doing all that. And my friends respected it. They were never like, oh, do this or you're a punk. Like if they're your real friends, they'll respect you and respect what you do. I mean, there's plenty of times my friends didn't listen to what I would listen to. I'd drag my friends to a Reverend Heek show or a Yeah show. They didn't fucking like that type of music. But, I was the weird one in my crew, man, and they loved me for it. They never judged me. They made crack jokes time to time, but it was always love.
That's beautiful. And as far as your story is concerned, you have a sobriety story. I got one of those too, 14 years, no booze. But
congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I used to piss myself and shit. But I always love your Insta post where you're talking about, you post like old pictures and you looked unhealthy and you're like, this is how I used to be and this is how I am now, and post pictures you working out and shit. Like, can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, again, coming from my era and the time I'd see guys with $4,000, $5,000 in their pockets smoking cocaine. I mean, it was like I even knew ballers doing it. They had a handle on it or best they could, but it was just everywhere growing up, man. We know guys who 30 years old already had 3 heart attacks. It's like, I know guys who would wake up in the morning and cocaine was their coffee. So I grew up in that, and I did cocaine probably every single weekend of my life since I was 17. Like, no bullshit. I've probably never had a sober weekend, maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but I've been fucked up my whole life until just this past year. And sooner or later, that cocaine habit turned into crack, turned into meth. And it's just, you start early, it probably gets played out in your brain or something. So you step that shit up. And yeah, I mean, I had it was dark. I maintained a job. I never sold none of my gear. I was like a functioning addict, but every weekend it'd be a 4 or 5 day binge on crack and meth. And again, my people are ballers. No one does drugs. And they would even sometimes hit me, like when I would disappear from them, be like, motherfucker, they're not the best, sponsors and they'd be like, motherfucker, your weakness, you're weak. Your habit's disgusting. And they would never turn their back on me, but being a fiend in my crew was not a look. And so yeah, I fucked around with that. I mean, I'm only a year now off of coke, meth, and crack. I'm sipping every now and then. I don't have beer in my house, and I do that before shows only or in places with large people because I got such bad anxiety. So, and maybe that was because of all the fucked up drugs, but so it's hard for me to do a show sober, but it's my dream to. And people are recommending CBD and shit like that, but I don't know. But yeah, man, I was in some dark places, man.
Well, really, it's baby steps because, like my girlfriend's got anxiety. She's agoraphobic. She hates going on planes and shit. And I'm anxious as fuck. And what I realized is being a performer my whole life, I was drinking when I was a teenager to get up on stage. And then when I cut the booze, I had to reacclimate to the really real anxiety of performing. But you know what's weird is I get more anxious talking to motherfuckers than I do up on stage. You know, like going to the store, someone like at Trader Joe's will start talking to me and I'll be like, I don't know what to say. But when I get up on stage and have that microphone, it kind of feels like home because I've been doing it for so long, you know?
No, that's me. And another thing is artists, like, because I've been such a fan. You put me in a bullpen or a room full of criminals, I'm cool as a fan, man. But put me in a studio with other artists and shit I like so much, man, I crumble and become like a nut. Yeah. Artists scare the fuck out of me. And it's because it's what I wanted to be my whole life.
Yeah, well, I mean, for all intents and purposes, at least from the outside looking in, it seems like you're fucking doing it, man. I mean,
thank you, man.
Yeah, you got this gig with Fishbone at Cypress Hill coming up.
Yes, October 29th, man. I'm real blessed. I don't know how that I fell on their radar. I mean, they hit me. All of a sudden, my booker hits me up and is like, yo, Cypress Hill is asking for you to open. And I was just blown away because as a 16-year-old kid, they were like my gods. Like, I mean, it's just so crazy that now I'm doing it at 47.
Well, it's inspiring, man, because like the story and the narrative that everyone tells artists, they're like, listen, you have this small window where, you know, from the age you're like 16 until you're 23 for you to blow. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think there's any real rules to this shit. I think if you have a consistent output, and especially if you're doing things that are a little bit different, like look at you, man. Like you're hitting your stride at your age. And
yeah. And I used to, because I come from a world of hip hop, I used to think that like, oh, ageism or some shit. And one of my good homies, Idris, when I told him, you know, blah, my age, and he's like, bro, fuck your age. As long as you're cranking out good shit, honest, and you got a story to tell. Because, I mean, shit, any youngsters like, yo, I'm teaching you something or talking about something maybe you ain't lived yet, or I've been through those steps. So there is an angle. And he was just like, bro, as long as you're kicking out shit they like, man, no one gives a fuck how old you are. Just keep it dope, you know?
That's dope. Yeah, I like that. So how would you hook up with Idris? How did that go down?
I mean, me and him always been on each other's radars, fans of each other's music. But back in the day when he was still living in Phoenix, he had an NTS radio show and he hit me up and was like, hey, you want to do a half-hour block? Like put music on that you like and shit. And I was like, word, I did that. And he's just always shown me love. And then, you know, we moved out to LA and then he started really blowing up and well-deserved. And then he just hit me up and was like, yo, man, you want to do an EP together? I'd love to produce a punk record for you. So we did that. And then since then, it's just been a dope friendship, man.
That's fucking sick. And the video's fun too, man. So that bass behind you, is that the bass that's on all your shit? Are you playing your own bass?
No. Oh, no. I have one. And, you know, I'll fuck around for some songs, but that project was all Idris. But yeah, I mean, I have bass and guitar, but I don't know what I'm doing on any of them. Even my music, when I'm playing a synthesizer, like I don't play chords. None of my music, very few of it has chords. I'm strictly playing one note. There's always this, I think it was a futurist flyer where it said, this is a chord. This is another chord, or this is a third. Now go start a band. And then the diagram next to it says, this is a note. This is the same note. You are a band. And it was to promote synthpunk. And I love that. That's my whole theory is I don't know what I'm doing with these instruments. I just make noise and try to make it work. You know, I'm a fan of melody, so I do my best to get melody with noise I make.
There's a interview with, you know, John Fruscianti, the guitar player for the Chili Peppers. He's
yes.
Yeah. So he was talking about Anthony Kiedis, and essentially what he said is that dude ain't a musician. Because you know, Flea, Chad Smith, and John Fruscianti are all like they're music guys. But
right, yes.
but he's saying what he brings to the Chili Peppers is original and comes from left field because he doesn't understand music like they do. And I think there's something special in that where you're like self-taught. And it comes, I feel like it comes from a place where you're not within the grid of rules of music. I think that can stifle a lot of people.
Yeah, the artist Timberland, that producer, he once said that. He's like, you know, I don't know music, and now I'm in a place where I can afford to go learn it. But he says he's scared to go like learn music theory or something. It might fuck everything up, you know?
Yeah, because it can put you in a box. I know from being a guitar player that it's like, okay, I'm playing within this grid, and if I go out of the grid, it feels uncomfortable, and it sounds uncomfortable because I'm used to hearing all these same notes. But you kind of have to put yourself in that uncomfortable place if you want to do some new shit, you know?
Yeah. I remember reading, I think it was Fad Gadget or one of those old synth punk bands. And they asked in an article, they asked him, how do you get that sound from your guitar? And he goes, oh, I haven't tuned it in a year. Shit.
I love it, man. And I like that the punk attitude is more accepting of lo-fi stuff. In fact, it's not just punk these days. It seems like popular music and music just across the board is more accepting of this like raw, like blown out lo-fi shit. And I feel like the days of like, I don't know, late 90s, everything's so fucking polished and sounds so clean. There's like some really like, I mean, you're probably into Death Grips a little bit, right? You ever fuck with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you listen to shit like that and you're just like, wow, there's no rules anymore. Like genre, nothing. And yeah, that's what I want to touch on now is okay, so when you perform, I know you got a band kind of going now, but when you started performing in LA, were you always just a solo performer?
Yeah, this is my first time doing this band thing. We're going to do it with Cypress Hill and I'm happy. But yeah, I've always been just my drum machine, which I don't even use to make music with. It's just got enough time. I trigger my songs from it. All the songs are in each pad. One song's in each pad. And then I have my synthesizer, which I just use to kind of make noise over those songs and do little solos and stuff. But it's always just been me. It's always been a thing of mine. I love minimal wave music. I like trying to see how much emotion you can get out of maybe just 4 tracks, just 5 songs. So I like it minimal. Now I'm a fan of bands and I love it all, but for me, that was always my thing. I never wanted a laptop on stage too. I was like, let me see what I can do with just this drum machine and synthesizer. Plus, because I didn't know any fucking musicians to help me. Now I'm knowing. But back in the day, I didn't know people in the music game. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it with this shit.
Yeah, so for the last 20 years, I've been doing a band where it's always been at least 3 people, sometimes 5, like saxophone players and, yeah, it's all right. But I'm doing this thing where I got hired to drive around this band and they're going to have me open up as a solo performer. So I went from the band world and now I'm going to be trying the solo shit. My question to you is when you started off playing shows, were your nerves like racked being like one dude up there?
Oh, bro. I mean, they still are to this day. We did that Frogtown, DIY illegal party. And I'm going in front of hardcore bands like Section Hate and Dead City Punks. And I'm like, dude, I mean, it's scary as fuck to follow a band when they got that low end and they got that. And my drums are fucking coming from a drum machine and it's scary as fuck. So I try to make up with it in what my body and what my vocals can do. Like, okay, I'm not going to have this low end. I'm not going to have live drums. Like even Death Grips, they have a drummer up there. The homie Machine Girl, he's a one-man act. He's still got a drummer. My homies Horror, they're kind of in the same genre, thing that I do, but they have a drummer. And just that drummer alone gives it that oomph. And I don't have that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it up in my vocals, my screaming, and my energy on stage. But yeah, it's scary as fuck, even to this day.
Yeah, because so we're doing this run with Flipper down in Texas, my new group, and I got my buddy coming to play bass, but we got no drummer, and I told him, I'm like, listen, you don't have to play this shit perfectly, but we have to have the most energy in the room because we have to make up for the fact that we are not a full band, and so so that's the goal. The goal is the goal is we're gonna hurt ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you do is you just rock it the fuck it out, man. The homie Idris, he has a 4-piece, but all of his drums still come from a drum machine. So I feel people are finding ways to make it work. But yeah, definitely nervous. Yeah, following a band all the time. And now that I got this band, I got to admit some of the songs that work, because they're just covering my shit, doesn't translate well as a band now. You know what I mean? Some of them I'm like, nah, let's pull that song because I do like my version better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because some of it's going to hit harder, like you said, with that minimalist vibe,
Exactly.
All these instruments are fucking it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro.
My shit's just a synthesizer ran into a rat pedal. So I lose low end, but it has a nice meaty crunch. And honestly, all I'm trying to do is mimic a guitar. I always tell people these limitations I work with are only because I didn't have anything else and I wasn't going to let that stop me. I've always dreamt of a band. Even my tunes, I always look at them as skeletons for a band to play. But now that I have the band, I'm learning, oh, fuck, maybe what I was doing was enough. I don't know. But it was always a dream just to have a band play these songs.
So are you just going to do the one gig with the full band and then see where it goes from there? Kind of like...
Yeah, we're doing two. We're going to do one at a record store right before Cypress Hill just to see how it works. Cypress Hill. And I'm enjoying them. I'm joining this group of guys. They're amazing players. I mean, they come from all sorts of backgrounds, so it's just really funky. And I told them, let's get in the studio and write some music with the band instead of just covering my shit, you know? So it's something I'm definitely going to explore for sure.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily going to slow the roll on you solo shit.
No, I'm doing other shit. Like it'll still be. I got shows in Oakland, Fresno, where it's just me, and just got asked to do some dates with Off. That's just gonna be me by myself, and that'll be scary as fuck opening for Off. Just one guy, but there's gonna be some gigs where you get Nate with a band, other gigs you get Nate alone.
Beautiful. So. When did you start getting embraced by actual punk acts? Like, when did you start getting invited to do these Dead City gigs, these like pop-up gigs in New York and shit? Like, you just got invited to do Off. Like, when did the punk community start feeling you?
I want to say it was, I mean, with my band Crime Kills, we were definitely getting some love for some punks, but it was a lot of just hype shit too. Like the real gutter punks and all that shit started coming around the kind of neat air time. You know, I think people started picking me up on internet again because everything was closed. And then Dead City just was doing those shows already. And they hit me up and was like, do this shit. And I remember telling Dead City, I was like, yo, I know the punk culture. Listen, man, I've done outlaw country songs, rap songs, goth songs. That's always my dream, is to be seamless, to do all genres, never have it feeling forced or fake, have it still honest. But the most shit I've ever gotten from any of these genres saying, why are you doing my music, is the punks. Them motherfuckers are mean, like, you know, but some of these kids hated me, but a lot of them embraced me. And what I always got from is some of the punk fans may have hated me, but the bands they look up to have always embraced me. It was always the musicians who loved me. It's just some fans are like, you ain't fucking punk because of the way I dress and everything, you know? But I'd say in the past maybe 3 years was when the real punk shit started embracing me, really. It was just the past 3 years.
So how did you deal with the negativity? Was it mostly online, or would people actually step to you in person?
Nah, no one's ever stepping to me. I mean, even I got a feeling I've even seen motherfuckers that I know don't like me. And I'm not a tough guy, but I'm going to stand for my shit. So sometimes I walk through those crowds and let them know, yo, I'm here at the show, you know, glad to talk. But no one has ever stepped up to me. And again, like my homies, Knucklehead Tom, Punk Rock Fight Club. I mean, these motherfuckers are the most punk ever, and they love me. So there's always like a crowd that supports me, but it was always only online. Like people telling me, I've gotten DMs, oh, you're ruining punk. I've gotten DMs, oh, we hate your shit. I've gotten some really mean DMs, but no one ever says shit to my face. And I don't care. Like, to me, music is subjective. You don't gotta like it. I got good homies who will kill for me, loan me 50 racks. They love me, but they hate my music. They're like, I don't fuck with it. Like, they're my people. So, but I just don't like. I don't like you assassinating my character. Like, you cannot like my music. Don't talk shit about me as a man, you know? And sometimes that's just what the internet does.
It's funny like that, yeah, because, you know, I make weird, silly fucking music, and people all the time are telling me it sucks or whatever. They've been doing that for 20 years. But the thing is like, you can ask my mom. I'm a good guy, man. You know, yeah. I'm a loyal friend. You know, I don't got anything to hide, man. I pull up in public all the time. You know, people will say shit to my face, especially in Detroit. There's a lot of haters, man. People are real jealous once you start actually making some moves and doing some tours and you actually get signed to a small record label. Like, not even like big success shit.
Exactly.
Like what I've done some cool shit, but like, yeah, people are just salty, man.
Oh, I even said that, like, I don't own a car. I'm still walking everywhere in my hood, take buses, take trains. I'm like, I don't know why the fuck y'all are mad. I'm still broke, man. I'm just having fun. So you're really just mad at me having fun.
Same. Oh, what I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned Knucklehead Tom. Now, I will say the dude in Reagan Youth, because I'm not in that band anymore, he gave me shit. because I like to exercise, and I look at exercise as therapy. It's a way for me to expel some of the negative energy that lives inside me, some of the anxiety. It's a way for me to calm down. Plus, I grew up a fat kid, right? So I have a little bit of body dysmorphia, and I go to the gym. I go on long walks. It's important to me. It's a part of my discipline regimen. And I see you do the same thing. But my question is, why is being healthy not considered punk?
You're right. That blows me away. Because again, Knucklehead, that motherfucker, like, I mean, it was his family, it's generations. That man has been in this Los Angeles punk scene since a kid. And I'm talking wearing it, living it, no fucking uniform. That is who he is. And yet he's a Muay Thai 3-time fucking champ and fucking takes care of himself. I've seen him maybe smoke a joint here and there, but I don't even think I've seen him have a beer. I just think that is a silly logic. Like, oh, you got to be punk to get fucked up. And I won't lie. Like, I used to think it. I get mad when anytime like people say you got to do the drugs, you got to do the partying to make it rock and roll. I think you're treading on some very scary water, like your addiction can form. I see kids nowadays almost making that their aesthetic is drug use. Like that was never me. The drugs came first, rock and roll second. But I don't know. I was the same as like you said, I was always a $110, always the skinny kid. So, it helps me stay off drugs, and I love taking care of myself and working out, man. Fuck that. It helps me with shows, helps my cardio. Like, I don't see why anyone would say that or have that logic. To me, there's no good reason to think that way.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you have to be destroying yourself to be considered cool. And I don't know, man. Not like when I got in my 30s and I started looking at the people around me, they all were looking real tired, and they all were like, they were doing the same shit. It was fucking. They were at the same bars, drinking fucking beer, looking terrible, doing coke, and I was just like. I was like, man, so this is what rock and roll is, dude? Like,
exactly. And I used to think that it would fuck with me. I would think that, if I don't have this pain that I have because I let my family down and went on this 3-day binge, I'm not going to be able to make good music. And man, I found the exact opposite. I found I'm writing better. I found like I'm getting to an emotion quicker. I mean, the bad memories still, I'll walk by dope houses because I'm still in my neighborhood where I smoked, and I'll walk by places and see it, and I'll get that feeling. So it's like, I can still remember those painful moments to write a painful song, but like I don't think you need it to make good music. That's such a silly fucking idea that I used to have.
Yeah, I remember reading about Brad from Sublime, and when he did the second record, he started doing heroin as an experiment. He called it his experiment, and that's like in his biography and shit. And when he's writing those songs, he literally thought that he had to experiment with heavy drugs in order to make beautiful music. He thought it was like a pathway. And if you listen to 40 Ounces of Freedom, that was like his before he started fucking with H. That's a beautiful record too. He had the beauty was inside of him regardless of what he was doing recreationally,
Exactly. That's why I see that a lot of these SoundCloud kids and the youth today, they play with that shit and give it the heroin chic look. And I'm just like, man, first of all, you're faking the funk, like you're trying to create pain. Life is hard enough. And like how you're saying about my song being aggressive or love or romantic, that's what I try to say is like, we should all be able to make everything because, hey, I've had my heart broken. Why can't I make a goth song? My mind's been in some pretty dark places. Why can't I make a punk song? I'm angry. Why can't I make a love song? My heart's been broken. Why can't I make a country song? I grew up in the desert. It's like, you can find this shit anywhere. You don't need the drugs. Life is hard enough and inspiring enough that you don't need all this shit to add to get to that flavor, man.
I love it, man. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, life is fucking hard, and you don't need to cause yourself pain. And that's the thing I realized once my dad died and I started going to therapy a lot. It's like, okay, like I don't need to involve myself in relationships and in situations that are going to hurt me further. I need to fucking deal with the hurt that already happened and try to do that shit less. And you know what's wild is when I started getting in situations that were healthy, I thought something was wrong. Like the relationship I'm in right now is good. And I'm talking to my therapist and I'm like, what's wrong? Like, why does this seem not normal? And she's like, cause trauma is your normal point. You know what I mean?
And man. I hear you.
So you got to teach yourself that something healthy you shouldn't fuck it up. You should like embrace it. And that's kind of the path I'm on.
I used to be the master of self-sabotage, man. I mean, my band Crime Kills could have got a lot further, but I was self-sabotaging that shit. And I'm just a weirdo nut like that. I'm literally scared to win the lottery because I think then I'll die probably the day after I win it. So yeah, happiness is getting hard to adjust to it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. I'm like, where's the pain? You know, where's the trauma?
Exactly.
Like, where's the abuse? And as far as the self-sabotage shit, yeah, like our band got kicked off Warped Tour in 2007. We got invited to do all these dates, and we got so drunk, and one of the dudes in my band punched a Warped Tour employee, and yeah, oh, that whole thing just got fucked up in an instant because we were like rock and roll, party, alcohol, blacking out, and yeah, it took me like 8 years to have people start taking me seriously again. And it took like 8 years of being sober before people were like, oh, this guy isn't a fuck up, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I tell these kids, not to be the old uncle. I mean, some of these kids, they love my music. They still call me Tio and Gramps, but I mean, I love it. But when I give them advice, it's like, yo, it's okay to cut loose and wild out. But when it's perform time, just get on your shit. People pay tickets to see you, and they don't realize that. Yeah, it's a great story to tell, but then we lost the Warped Tour. It's like it hurts shit too, and if you want a faster track to get to where you're dreaming to go, I promise you, man, getting fucked up. Like I used to give the worst shows. I'd be so coked out, my jaw just couldn't even make words, and I would give the worst shows. And at the time, I'm just still thinking it's just rock and roll. Like fuck it. Now looking back at it, I'm embarrassed and like, damn, I feel bad for anyone that paid for a ticket and saw me just roll around on the ground because I couldn't even talk. Like, that ain't cool, man. Now I'm all about like, I still have a beer right before, but I want to give you the best show. I want to give you the best time and sonically and visually and all that.
That's what it's about. Yeah, I blacked out on stage. I forgot how to play guitar. My mom was in the audience, bro.
Oh, yeah. Man.
It was terrible. But, that was a long time ago. That was 2007. Right. I quit the booze in 2008, and I've been sober and boring, going to bed early, going to the gym.
I love it. My girl clowns me because I'll be like, yo, it's time to go to bed. She'll look at the phone and be like, it's 8:30. I'm like, I got to go to bed, Yeah, I only step out now if I'm performing, really, or if it's like an art event we want to go to. I don't really go out to clubs no more or bars. No reason for that.
Same, dude. It's weird. I just saw a meme the other day, and it's a football player in full football uniform in the stands watching the football game, and the caption reads, "When I'm a musician at a concert."
I love that, dude. I already just without the caption, I totally resonate with that image. That's dope.
Yeah, because you want to be on the field, bro. Like you want to be. Exactly. I mean, I'll go support homies that come through town on tour because. I don't know. I just like catching up with friends. But as far as
that's cool.
as far as paying money and going to a concert, I haven't done that shit in a minute.
I won't front, man. I love all the bands. I love all you guys. But yeah, it's very rare that I'm talking some of my favorite bands. And then it's just, I beat my ass in the gym in these mornings. So by the time night comes, I'm like, I'm fucking beat. I'll just listen to your album. I'll buy your album twice to support you.
That's funny, man. Yeah, I'm on that go to bed early shit. Yeah, and then I drink too much caffeine, then it wears off, and then I hit a brick wall around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
I'm going through about this time right now. I take fucking 2 scoops of my pre-workout, and then around 11 or 12 when I'm done, I'm crashing. I'm like dying. I got to find a better pre-workout.
Well, the thing is with the pre-workout is it has anywhere between 200 and 400 milligrams of caffeine, and when that shit hits you quick, and when it wears off, you crash, dude.
Oh, man. Some of my people are more into the gym than me. They're like, you don't need that shit. Just man up and get the fuck in there. And then other people have shown me that there's other healthier ones. So I got to look into it because, I'm always fucking crashing.
Yeah, there's all types of shit. And you know what's wild these days? You go into a 7-Eleven and there's like 900 different kinds of energy drinks.
Yeah, see, I rarely fuck with those. I'll do a Red Bull if I'm tired. But yeah, guys, I'll be in the studio with drinking like 3 bangs. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, that's 300 milligrams of caffeine. So that's 900 milligrams of caffeine and 3 bangs, dude.
Fuck that, dude.
Yeah, it's bad for you, man.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And then everything else that's probably in that can.
Yeah, a bunch of chemicals. I just call it, chemical drink. Call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, so here we are. We're taking care of ourselves, and what's next besides the Cypress Hill shit? That's October, right? That's coming up.
Just more shows. I have a album that I put out a while ago, only on cassette and digital, called Bound to Let You Down. And now the label is, we're going to drop November. We're re-releasing that album on vinyl and got a remix project to go with it. I reached out to some producers I love, got Peanut Butter Wolf on there, Idris, Adult, the electro synth punk band.
Oh,
People
yeah.
I've looked up to. Yeah. I mean, they're Adults out in Detroit, I think.
They just played the Hamtramck Labor Day Festival.
Sick. Yeah, they got, oh my God, they blessed me with one of the illest remixes. So I got this remix album and vinyl dropping in November. And that's the next project I'm working on. And besides that, just tons of shows. Oakland and Fresno in November. October 29th is Cypress. And then these off dates that we'll announce here soon.
That's fucking badass. Like, and that's the thing, is because I'm doing this fucking solo thing where it's me and a backing track, but I'm gonna be opening up for Mike Watt and Flipper, which, you know, Flipper's the old school noise punk band, and it's scary as shit because I've always had a sick band. I've always had a sick bass player.
Kill it, bro.
We'll see. But I'm glad I'm talking. I'm glad I'm talking to you now because like this shit's inspiring to me to hear how you were like. Yeah, you just get up there and you fucking match the energy of a band with your own movements, because it's gonna kind of be like a hip hop thing. I was just listening to the backing track and I'm like, holy shit, it's just gonna be me and a microphone over this shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have this synth up there sometimes, and I don't know how to play this motherfucker, but I'll just go over to it and like, you know, it's running into a distortion, so I'll just maybe hit a note and it rings out like I do things to just keep it a little, like, you know, maybe if you can have something up there or a drum machine with pads, like so you can hit sound bites or hit things just to give them an element of when I'm not performing and I don't feel like doing some crazy physical shit. I can run over to some instrument and just add a little flavor. I always suggest that for a guy who's by himself.
Yeah, I got this thing.
Yeah, there you go, dude. I mean, I'll do that gunshots or a segment, a movie sample, something, you know?
Yeah, I got this fucking pad. It's got a bunch of dumb shit. Some. Yeah, so.
Oh, see, that's perfect.
I got a guitar too. Like I'm pretty decent at the guitar, so it'll be. But you know The Garden, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just watching them, and because it's really weird how all this is lining up. Like me talking to you, and I'm going on tour with Flipper and The Garden, but I'm not performing. I'm just driving them around. But I was watching their live shit, and half the time they're not even playing instruments. They just got backing tracks. You know?
No shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and then what is it? It's just the two brothers and a drummer.
It's the two drummers. Sometimes they're on bass and drums and singing, but other times they're it's just the two of them on microphones, like a hip hop style thing.
Wow, dope. I mean, horror fucking kills it, my boys. And they're just two vocalists with a drummer and then all the music. You know what I mean? It comes out of a machine.
So what do you think it is about now where people give less of a shit about whether or not music is being performed live? Like, what do you think it is?
I just think, I mean, if it's funky and the music resonates with them, they don't care. Because again, I'm always the first guy. I mean, I'm a nut. My friends and girl, everyone laughs at me because I'll be the first person right after the show. Oh my God, that sucked. It was horrible. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? You fucking bodied it. I liked you better than the bands. And then I was getting booked for some hardcore festivals in Texas. And I'm scared as fuck. I'm playing with Gulch and Zulu and all these such heavy bands. And then I asked, I mean, there's one point on the mic, I even look to the crowd and go, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. And the promoter, he loves me. God bless him. He told me, he's like, bro, I bring you here to break up the monotony of all these bands. So it's like, I think it's a breath of fresh air to some people. Like, oh, okay, that these other two bands played. Here comes this guy with some drum machines, and let's see what, and it's dope. I think as long as it resonates with people, you're good. They don't care, I mean, there's nothing like seeing a band in the pocket, play five guys playing together. And of course it's amazing, but shit, man, so are things that are different. And that's what it is. It's different.
Oh, that's beautiful. I needed to hear this shit. Thank you.
So, and you're going to kill it. I can't wait, man.
It's going to be real weird. Cause right now I'm just working on the backing tracks, and a lot of it is like, is shit from my old band that we just recorded live. And
Sick.
so all the elements are there. All I got to do is press the fucking button, you know?
That's all I do. I press the button and start rocking it, man. And yeah, I mean, people fucking dig it, you know? I mean, shit. I mean, I get pits started. At first, people were just staring at me. A pit would never start. They'd just be trying to figure me out. But that's because my music varies. It goes from a punk, fast, aggressive thing to something very minimal and me just talking with a London accent. So sometimes the crowds are just like, what the fuck is this? But I mean, hey, man, with this gear, I've gotten some crazy, insane pits going, and I didn't have a band it was just me and a drum machine, and that crowd wilded the fuck out. So it can be done. I know it. I mean, I've seen it.
Do you remember the first time you saw it?
Like for me, me? God, I mean, my brain's so fucking warped from doing all these drugs. I can't really remember. But I gotta say, the moment that I was like, oh shit, was definitely the Frogtown shit, because all the PA didn't work. It's DIY. There's fucking literally 1,500 kids all beneath this bridge. And I'm like, I can't go on. I tell the drummer from Dead City, I can't go on. You guys can all play without the PA working and the mic not working because there's still a band there. I need a PA. My music comes out of a PA. And he was like, man, fuck that, that shit. So we plugged my gear into a guitar cabinet.
Yes.
And all my music's coming out of a guitar cabinet, and the fireworks are still going off. Torches are going. I mean, the crowd was so big that only the first few rows of people could hear me because I'm coming out of a guitar cabinet. But those first 4 rows are wilding the fuck out. And that's when I was like, oh, and these are hardcore gutter punk kids. And I was like, oh shit, man. I mean, it's happening.
Was that the one that was all over the news?
Yes, the helicopters around us, cops shooting at us. Yeah. I mean, that last one they did that I didn't play made the news too. But this one was, I want to say 2020, 2021, maybe. That was the, 2021. That was the one that was just like, we shut the city down. We made SUPcast. Like, if I made SUPcast, I'm a happy man. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Channel 5, Andrew Callahan did a bit on that. But yeah, I think that was 2020 because it was during the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, we, I got some shit, but, I mean, it was tail end of it. And I mean, I guess I mean, the kids were ready, man. They needed something, and the city was getting wild because it was right coming out of the, the protests. And then when the protests happened and there, fucking rage was there. These guys breaking into stores and shit. And, of course, I don't want to support that, but it was like just shit was bottled up. So to me, we gave the city a release of where they didn't have to be harming businesses or destroying shit. It's like, come to this area and wild out. If you don't feel safe, wear masks, whatever. But the city needed it, man.
Yeah, I remember I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. I mean, we did catch some shit, but luckily, I mean, people understood also.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. And like I said, tons of aggression got out that day with no harm. I mean, literally the only hurt people from that show, I walked through it. I walked around, no fights, nothing. The only people who got hurt were people, and it was by police. So, that was it. There, 1,500 kids, no one got hurt except for the ones the cops shot. Oh.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. All right, man. Well, hey, we're at about an hour, and I think, dude, this was good. It was rapid fire, man.
Thank you so much. I'd love to do it again anytime you hit me up. It was so dope, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. And thanks for the inspiration and the kind words. And I'm just thinking to myself, how am I going to fuck up these shows? Like, in a good way.
I love it, dude. Anytime you got my, I'll shoot you my number and hit me up anytime, bro. I mean, you inspire me, so I look up to you. So anytime, just talk or any questions, just hit me up, man.
All right, man. Anything you want to plug? I know you already said some shit.
No, just check out for the Bound to Let You Down remix album. Come to these shows that I'm going to be having a band with. It's going to be different. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you.
Yo, hey, say what's up to Fishbone. Those are my old homies.
Dope. I will do, man.
Those are the dudes, man. That's like that. Those are the OG fucking legends, man.
Okay, my bass player in my band right now, he does a lot of work with them, and he was just, I'm excited. I'm really excited to open for them. Yeah, man. Cypress, Fishbone, and you, man. I wish I need to fucking fly out to LA. If I wasn't working, I'd be there, bro. Thank you. I'd get you in, man. But we got a link when I ever come through Michigan, man.
Yeah, I'll be here, man, for a minute. Let me know. All right,
Definitely.
You hit that red button, and thanks, Nate No Face. We'll
Thank you so much.
catch you on the flip, man.
Got you, G.
All right, man, peace. Hey, you made it to the end. What did you think? Sign up for the $5 tier on Patreon. $5 and up, you get to see everything we do as we're doing it. Be a part of this community and help this shit get made. So that's my spiel. Sign up for the Patreon and see you in the next video.